Hey friends, it is the first morning of the reading rush, which I am very new to, and you may be as well. So basically I have their website pulled up. It's a week-long readathon for book lovers all around the world. And so it's organized by like through BookTube mostly, which is, I watch BookTube, but I don't participate in it very much. Even though I read a lot of books, I've always thought of myself as not being good at talking about books. And I think high school English just really ruined talking about books for me, honestly. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the reading rush. I'm gonna make a vlog about it. I'm gonna talk about books. There are 7 challenges for this week-long readathon, and they're for reading certain kinds of books, but you can combine them so you don't have to read 7 total books. So I've been seeing a bunch of like people making videos about their reading rush TBR, their to be read books in advance, and I have not picked my books yet, and that is because I am almost exclusively, like 95%, a library user for the books that I read. And so what I read is dependent upon what is available or which of my holds come in. So I do know a couple of the books that I'm going to read that I already have from the library right now ready to go. But the others, we will just play it by ear. I have my first book ready to go. It's an audiobook that I had on hold that just came in a couple days ago. And it is, if it loads, the cover's not loading, so I'll insert a clip of what it looks like. But I am reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. And this one suits the challenge, read a book with a title starting with the word the. And so this one I had on hold from the library since the day it came out, and I just now got it. So what I usually do in the mornings is, for the first hour of my morning, I play Animal Crossing and have YouTube videos going on my phone in the background. So I think I will play Animal Crossing and start The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I am sitting at 40% of the way through, which I am very impressed with myself. And I wanted to talk about my thoughts on it so far, because I have thoughts. So basically, this is a Hunger Games prequel that takes place 64 years before the Hunger Games book. That book was the 74th annual Hunger Games, and this is about the 10th annual Hunger Games. And it's following President Snow as a teenager. He was the big bad in the Hunger Games series, the president who was in charge of all the bad things that the Capitol did. And so as a teenager, he is in a trajectory to power, pretty much. Not like a clear, like, oh, he's the one who's going to be president, but he's in the Capitol. He goes to a really good school where they're learning all about the Hunger Games. They are mentoring the 10th annual Hunger Games tributes, and so he is mentoring a girl from District 12. And so far it reads very much like a story of this like privileged boy who starts to realize that his world is terrible and oppressive actually, and that he's part of the problem, and is slowly realizing that he doesn't want to be a part of this system. But we know that eventually he becomes the president and things only get worse. So I am nervous about where it's going to go from here. All that being said though, Suzanne Collins is a great writer. Like it is just fun to listen to. I am really enjoying it. I want to know what's going to happen. I like some of the characters, and the others I'm at least curious about. And so I think she's built a really interesting story and a really interesting premise, but I'm concerned about how it could end. So for the evening, I am gonna go over to my parents' house. We are all isolating together and not seeing anyone else. And I go over there regularly because they are the only human beings that I get to see. So I probably will not listen to any more today. So those are my thoughts on The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That title's too long. I don't like it. So I finished my cleaning, but more importantly, I have finished A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't know if I liked it or not. It's hard to read something where you know the protagonist is going to turn out evil. And I knew going into it that that's what it was. And I think that that whole concept is just not for me. Like, Snow had a classmate who just hated the Hunger Games and was willing to rebel and put his life at risk to try to stop them. And the whole time I was just like, why isn't this from his perspective? So yeah, that's my main feelings I have now, as I'm finished it less than 5 minutes ago. I can already tell I'm going to be thinking about it more though, so I might share more thoughts. So since I finished my homework for the day, my audiobook, and the cleaning that I wanted to get done, I'm just going to chill and read The Blood of Olympus for a while. Alright, so I just finished up. I did not finish Blood of Olympus. I finished the amount that I wanted to read, which was to get 50% of the way through it. And so that was my goal for today, and I did it. So I'm actually going to start my next book, which has not been decided yet. I'm going to pick it out now from my shelf. So here's my plan. This book that I choose right now will fulfill 2 of the challenges. One is read the first book you touch. So I will touch a book and read it. But also reading a book outside of your home. So my plan for this is to pick a book from my shelf of childhood picture books, and then go outside and just sit on a curb in the shade and read it in one sitting. And the reason this is my strategy, 1, because it's hot and I don't want to spend that much time outside. 2, there's a pandemic, so I'm not going to spend time other places. And 3 is that my dog Calvin has a little bit of separation anxiety, and I haven't been leaving him home alone hardly at all. So to work on his separation anxiety, I'm just going to read a quick book outside and leave him alone for a shorter period of time and then come back. So let's pick a book. I'm going to work off of this section. You can't see. I'm going to work off of this section right here. Those are all picture books. What are you? Richard Scarry's Please and Thank You book. That's hilarious. I can't wait to learn some manners. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning and I am about to play some Animal Crossing and start my next audiobook. And so this one is also one that I had picked out already that came in from the library right on time. So I will be listening to Howl's Moving Castle. So this one, you may be able to guess, is for the challenge of reading a book where I have seen the movie that is based off of it, but haven't read the book. So Howl's Moving Castle, I've seen the Studio Ghibli movie. I really love it. It's been a long time since I've seen it though. So I'm not sure how many details I'll remember to compare to the book, but I kind of like it that way. So I'm gonna get to it, play some Animal Crossing, and then I've got quite a bit of homework to do today, but I will check in with you after that. So it's the afternoon and I'm gonna take a homework break to read for a little bit. And I have been developing some thoughts about A Ballad in Songbirds and Snakes that I would like to talk about. This bit is gonna be more spoilery than the other bits. I'm not gonna talk about like things that happen, but I am gonna be talking about like character development throughout the whole novel. So skip to here if you don't want to hear about that. Okay, so one of the things that made this a difficult for me to get behind is the character development of Coriolanus Snow is like you see early on how he's being taught that the people in the districts are less like human than the people in the capital. You see how he's like groomed to be a leader and an oppressor in this society, which was kind of interesting. And then as the story progresses, you see like the contrast between what he's being taught and kind of what he's coming to understand a little bit more, that people in the districts are more human than he realized, but then the whole book is inside his head, and so you still hear that his thought processes are still gross. But you see him going, like he has a little romance, which I didn't like at all. And then by the end, he just decides to go ahead and double down on everything that his capital schooling was teaching him and just support the Hunger Games and become a military leader and all of that. And so on one hand, I appreciate a villain origin story that doesn't make you feel bad for him. Like it could have been a very like, oh no, he had such a rough childhood that he had no choice but to become evil. But he obviously was presented with many choices and many opportunities in this book to take a different path, and he ultimately did not take them. And so as a villain origin story, I prefer that format. But I think I just don't like villain origin stories in general to a certain extent. Like it kind of, there were interesting things about like the history of the Hunger Games and the history of Panem that this went into that I think were good and very interesting. But I kind of feel like the story following Coriolanus Snow like didn't need to exist. I think it was very well written. There were things about the story that were very engaging, like I did want to keep reading. But I just like having a protagonist to root for, and he is not that. Like, I'm all for complex protagonists who don't always make like the most moral of choices, but not really protagonists who like go on to commit genocide, you know? So I think that's probably going to be everything I have to say on that. Howl's Moving Castle, I am enjoying so far. There are a lot of elements that are very familiar, and we'll see at the end how much of it I remember and how much I don't. Because right now I have no idea where the story goes, but it could be once it gets there, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Hello, hello. I'm wearing my Camp Half-Blood shirt today in honor of the Percy Jackson books because I'm expecting to finish The Blood of Olympus today. So this morning I had my Animal Crossing and my audiobook time, and now I'm doing some homework. When I say I'm doing homework, I'm taking 3 classes and they're all online and we don't have any like scheduled class time. So when I say homework, some of that is what would be class time, like reading the book, learning material, watching videos that the professors have provided. All of that I'm lumping in with homework. So I will be reading this most of the day, and then hopefully, if all goes according to plan, I can finish reading this, and then I will finish reading Blood of Olympus, and then I will finish my audiobook, which is Howl's Moving Castle. So alright, it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I have finished Blood of Olympus and I've finished Howl's Moving Castle. Blood of Olympus, very cute. I enjoy the Heroes of Olympus series, but not nearly as much as the Percy Jackson books. I guess I just don't have the same like emotional connection to these that I did to the original books because they were very, very special to me as a kid. And then Howl's Moving Castle was very, very cute. I can definitely, if I'd read that when I was like 10 years old, I would have been so into it. And it made me realize how little I remember about Howl's Moving Castle, the movie. Like, I remember kind of the premise, like maybe the first half hour of the movie. And then, you know, like nothing was familiar. But I could tell very much that it had like the same energy as the movie, which was really nice because it's just so fun and magical and whimsical and kind of bizarre. And it was really, I think, despite not remembering most of the plot, it felt like the movie was a good adaptation of the book. So now I only have 2 challenges left. I have read a book with a cover that is the same color as your birthstone, and I have read a book in a genre that you'd like to read more of. And so I actually have an audiobook that would work for either one. One that I had planned on, and the other one that I just got from the library earlier than expected. And so I'm gonna see what I can find as far as ebooks go for one of those categories, and then decide which audiobook to read based off of that. So for the book that matches the color of my birthstone, I was born in March and my birthstone is aquamarine, so it's like a light blue. And I have selected All Boys Aren't Blue, which the top half of the cover is the perfect color, and then the theme of the audiobook is all light blue, so it's perfect. And this one, when I checked a few days ago, it said it was going to be available in like 2 or 3 weeks, but it came in this morning, so perfect. And then for the book that's the genre I want to read more of, I have checked out from the library Capitalism and Slavery. I haven't really read history books all that much. I've read more stuff about like modern society, but I do want to learn more history, especially the history of racism. And so I think this is a good place to start. All right, so it's Friday and the reading rush is over. I think Sunday is the last day. And so I have started Capitalism and Slavery, and I actually started and finished All Boys Aren't Blue. It was really short, and listening to it on double speed, I think it was a 5-hour audiobook, and so it only took me 2.5 hours. Calvin's scratching himself. I don't know if you can hear that. And so neither of these books are what I was expecting, I would say. So All Boys Aren't Blue is a memoir, which I knew, but when I've read memoirs in the past, I haven't read very many, but they tend to read just like a fiction book, except they're about the person's life. But this one, for one thing, the author addressed the audience a lot. Like, it wasn't all narrative. And also, even when it was narrative, it was kind of, it wasn't written in the same way that fiction books are, where it's like painting a picture, showing you the scene. This was like very much just like telling you what happened. And so it felt much more non-fiction-y as a whole than I was expecting, but it was still really good. It's about, I think it's considered a young adult memoir because it's about this Black and queer man's childhood, from like early childhood through graduating college, I think. And let me tell you, it made me feel some things that I haven't felt from reading a book in a while. Like, it got me a little bit emotional. And then the other one, the Capitalism and Slavery book, I didn't know like anything about. I just browsed on Libby to find an ebook that was available right now. And they had a whole section that was like a racial justice section. And so all I did was see the title, and then I looked at it on Goodreads to see if it got good ratings. But I didn't even read the description of it or anything. And it turns out it was written in 1944, or it was published in 1944, which I was not expecting. Okay, so here's the deal. I read a bunch in Capitalism and Slavery yesterday and the day before, and I am 17% through the book. It is very dense. I have to reread sentences frequently, and so I just think that this book and the reading rush aren't meant to be. I'm gonna keep reading it, but I am certainly not going to be finishing it today. But I am determined to do all the challenges within this week. And so fortunately, a new book became available from the library that can suit this challenge and that I can read all of today. So the genre that I would like to read more of is graphic novels. I think they're so fun, and I've just read a handful of them. So the ebook that came in is, if it'll focus and get the glare off, The Adventure Zone. It was originally a D&D podcast, and then they published they're publishing it in graphic novel form. And a bunch of my friends were really into the podcast, and I tried to listen to it. I play D&D, and so I thought it would be a really good fit. But I have a hard time following like fictional podcasts, and I'm not sure exactly why that is, because I do just fine with audiobooks and I do just fine with nonfiction podcasts. But it just like, I could not process what was happening. So we'll see if I even remember any of it. So yeah, I'm gonna knock that out today, and then that's the reading rush. All right, so that's it. I read for like an hour and finished that graphic novel, and it was really cute and just like a fun little adventure. It was a really easy read, which was nice. The D&D format is really fun too, because it got me thinking about my own D&D campaign, like making comparisons between like my character and their characters, and like the things we've done and stuff like that. So I guess that is it from me for the reading rush. I did it. If you liked this video, it would be great if you could give it a like, because it really helps out my channel. And if you're new here, I put up new videos every Thursday. So if you're interested in seeing more of my face, you can subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.